Hello everyone, welcome back to Boone Builds, where my goal is inspiring creativity for fans of LEGO. This is part 2 of the Star Wars Challenge review video. Welcome back. I am going to talk about some more of my favorite entries for the Star Wars Challenge. I am going to bring back my friends Mark, Sam, and Mel so that they can tell you a little bit more about some of their favorites. I am also going to announce the winner in this video, and I'll tell you a little bit about my next challenge before we're done here. Let's dive right in. So here we have Ashton's Darth cooking show. I think this thing is hilarious. You've got the bath guy up on a pedestal with a Boba Fett helmet hollering directions at Darth Vader, who's wearing like the mini chef uniform. He's standing behind the cooking show table, throwing pizza pies up into the air. He's got a couple of pies there and a sausage. This is just hilarious. You know, in this challenge, I challenged people to mash Star Wars up with something that is completely outside of Star Wars. So I just think stuff like this is really funny. Next up, Austin built a few different little things here from Star Wars, but the thing that caught my eye in this is that square lightsaber. I love just the idea that, like, yeah, lightsabers are supposed to be round and they're supposed to be like beams of light, but this is Lego, so we have complete permission to just build a oblivious square lightsaber. Good job, Austin. I love it. Next up, we have from banning the Imperial break room, and I just love this. There's stormtroopers sitting on couches. We've got Bosk and Boba Fett hanging out back there. There looks like there's a TIE fighter pilot sweeping up and a black astromech droid that is carrying drinks around the break room. So that's awesome. Good job banning. Next up, this is from my friend Brett. This thing is amazing. This is a build that Brett calls Star Wars Things, and it is a different take on the Stranger Things set from LEGO. So he's got the Imperial bunker from Endor on both sides of the build here. On one side, we've got Darth Vader and a scout trooper on a speeder bike. On the other side, we have C-3PO and R2-D2, and this can sit either upright or upside down. I think a fun name for this might be like the dark side upside down, or the dark side down, or something like that. So this is really awesome. I love this build. Thank you, Brett, for submitting a build for my build challenge. Next up, we have Brodys Dance Battle Face-Off. Brody, the reason I decided to do this one was because I just love how you've got all those minifigures looking like they're dancing. You've got those translucent pieces in all these different colors on the floor, and I love that. It reminds me of, like, you know, Saturday Night Fever with that like light up disco dance floor. And we actually even had that in the season finale of Lego Masters. But the amazing thing about this build is it's got a roller coaster. I don't know where it goes, but it's awesome. I feel like a roller coaster, you can add a roller coaster to anything and it makes it incredible. Next up from Callum, we have Mandalorian's Rust Rider, and this thing is so cool because it is this speeder with a sidecar, and the speeder has sort of colors that match the Mandalorian that's driving the speeder. And the sidecar has some colors that match the Mandalorian that's in the sidecar. I love the base of this thing. It's, you know, the whole thing is floating on like one Lego bar, and that goes down into the ground, and Callum has used, you know, some different pieces there to make it look like different colors, and I think it's really awesome. Next up, we have Carter's Ewok Pizza Delivery Snail. I don't know what makes this a pizza delivery snail, but I love the snail. It's this brick-built snail. We've got an Ewok riding on top, some greenery around it. I think this thing is hilarious. You'll always get me with Ewoks. I love the Ewoks. And that Ewok actually has a really cool looking, like, custom steampunk kind of rifle, and I think it's funny that the Ewok has that. Awesome. Next up from Drew, we have Luke's Sand Speeder Mech, and it almost looks like, you know, it's got the shapes and the colors of the actual Sand Speeder from A New Hope, but it looks like the Sand Speeder might transform into this mech. That's really cool. Okay, this thing is awesome. From Drew, this is Vinnies Pizza Star Wars. This thing is really rad. It's got a front that kind of looks like a Hammerhead Corvette. It's got these sides that sort of make it look like a Corellian freighter. And it's got boosters at the back that remind me of a Naboo starfighter. I just think this is really awesome. Drew submitted some really wonderful pictures of this thing, including an interior where you see people, I don't know, throwing chairs. We've got people delivering pizzas, people eating pizzas, people from the dark side, people from the light side. Apparently, Vinnies Pizza Star Wars is a fun place to go in the Star Wars galaxy. What an awesome mashup, Drew. Good job. Here we have from Ian, this is called Castle Wars. I'm not sure what the mashup is here. I think it may be something that is a reference I'm not familiar with. But I just think that the dynamic sort of energy in this piece is really wonderful, and the photograph is great. So thank you for submitting, Ian. Next up, this one is from Elhanan, and this is the salvaged TIE Fighter. It's got the legs of an AT-ST. It's got the cockpit of a Y-Wing. It's sort of attached to a TIE Fighter. This thing's really cool, and actually I think that just that piece on the front with the Y-Wing cockpit on a walker, I think that would look really rad, and I actually kind of want to build one. Nice job, Elhanan. Next up from Eli, we've got the Galactus Snack, and I'll tell you, a lot of people submitted something like a Star Wars ice cream truck. I saw it over and over again in the submissions for this round. But the thing that I love about this one, it's got on one side just that stormtrooper giving the peace sign, and on the other side it's Galactus Snack, and I think that was the one that like caught my ear. Like, I just think Galactus Snack is a funny word. So thank you very much, Eli. Next up, this is from Emmett. This is a land walker. And I think this thing is just so wild. I had to include it in here because there's a, you know, like kind of a clone trooper type character up at the top, but he's got like an old-fashioned Lego steering wheel. And I think using the yellow minifig chairs as the feet was really clever. There's a great balance between symmetry and asymmetry in this build, you know, with those blasters on the side that are made out of like the old red megaphone pieces, a gold chain, and then, you know, there's just some other random pieces that make this thing look, you know, it's mechanical, but it's colorful, it's fun. Awesome. This one is really wonderful by Gabriel. We've got like a ship on what looks like the water next to the shore, and on the shore is this big droid and a Mandalorian like battling against this droid. And I just think that this is so lovely because the droid and the ship just have some really wonderful dynamic positioning, you know, that makes them look like they're in motion. And that Mandalorian with a cape flying up through the air on that one single clear bar element, it's really nice looking. Good job, Gabriel. Now here with Gavin, we've got the Mustafar Land Speeder. I think this is something that's really cool. It looks like it could exist in the Star Wars universe, and, you know, bringing all that red together to make a unified color scheme is really, really good looking. Oh, here's another trooper mech. This is a Sith trooper mech, and I just think it's beautiful. The color, just the one little red Sith trooper helmet up on top there, like you can imagine the Sith trooper being inside, but the whole rest of the mech is just that black and red, and really brings this like Sith trooper vibe to it. And a really wonderful picture with that kind of like wavy but blurry background. They did a great job. Good job, Jack. Here we have from Jackson the Darth Vader portable lightsaber laboratory, and I just love the idea of this Darth Vader driving around in a portable lightsaber laboratory. Like, we're making lightsabers, we're driving around, everyone's in quarantine, and we're gonna hand out lightsabers. I just think that's funny. This one from Jason is the stop on planet Block Tatooine. So, you know, it looks a lot like Minecraft to me, but they've got these really wonderful characters. We've got Darth Vader or Kylo Ren. There's some Imperial people in there with a stormtrooper. There's Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, C-3PO, and R2-D2, but they are incredibly simple little characters, and yet I can tell exactly who they're supposed to be, right? So it's really awesome. Good job, Jason. Here from Jaden, we have the Yoda monster truck. This is really hilarious to me, taking, you know, a monster truck and making it the shape of Yoda's head. I can imagine that being a real thing. You know, there's some really wacky monster trucks out there that look like, you know, Batman or the Batmobile, or you know, like a snake's head or something like that. So making one that looks like Yoda's head, that's really funny. Good job, Jaden. Here we have from JD, this is called Darth Schooner, and again, you know, this is something that is not from Star Wars. It wouldn't be in Star Wars, but it's a really funny idea, right? To have this boat and it's off to battle, and all of these troopers are in the boat, you know, and you sort of imagine that thing where they're all rowing, and they're not rowing in this one because it's flying through space with a booster. But then you've got Darth Vader at the back of the boat, you know, sort of waving his lightsaber, like urging all of his troops on. So I think that's really clever. This one is super simple, but it comes down to color scheme. And I love Boba Fett. We've got the prototype Boba Fett from, I think, from one of the DK books. This was an exclusive, and it's almost completely white. It's got some black accents, but then that prototype Boba Fett has just the two little red marks on the front of his helmet. So I feel like Jennifer did a really good job here, you know, just capturing that color scheme with this speeder. And, you know, when you're building spaceships, you always get me if it's symmetrical and the color scheme is looking really good. That's awesome job, Jennifer. This one is really cool. The Sith Shogun Imperial Dao Air Chariot. This thing's amazing. It's really, really cool. The photograph is awesome. I don't know what else to say about it. It's such a cool combination of pieces and colors, and a really cool photograph. This one from Keanu is the Imperial Hot Dog Pod Racer, and I had to talk about this one because I love pod racers and I love hot dogs. So this thing almost looks like, you know, it's got those pod racer engines out on front, but it almost looks like the hot dog is like a hot air balloon kind of thing, like holding up the pod. I think that's really funny. Here, and this is awesome, Colby sent a number of pictures. This is the Space Brunch, and you see we've got a toaster here that almost looks like a toaster droid, and some toast popping up out of there, and I think it sort of looks like a face, you know, almost like C-3PO. Here we've got sort of like maybe a probe droid that is carrying around trays, and he's got like some ketchup and mustard on one side of there. This is one, I think, one of those creatures, and it's not the Mynock, but it's that other weird thing that I think is from The Force Awakens. But correct me if I'm wrong. But it's in the shape of, you know, like a mixer, like a kitchen mixer. And then you put them all together, and we've got a bowl with like breakfast cereal in it that looks like an upside down R2-D2 head. We've got a tray that looks like a TIE fighter wing with, you know, the bacon and the eggs and the bread on there. And then there's a flipper, like a pancake flipper, with the handle of Luke's lightsaber, you know, Luke's second lightsaber. And I just think this is unbelievable. You did a really good job with this, Colby, and I think it's hilarious. Next up, we have Lego fan sent pig in spaceship steals toilet paper. This one I just thought was funny because you can see the pig there flying this spaceship. He's got his nose like right up against the console, and maybe it's some sort of weird space pig because he's got like a big spike coming out of his back. And if you look really carefully at the back of this ship, you can see that there's like some rolls of toilet paper back there. So this is hilarious. This one, oh my goodness. Levi submitted the Ewok Dryer. I'll give you a second to look at this one. The Ewok is flying the speeder, and a bunch of Ewok capes are hanging from the back of the speeder. So they've washed their capes, and this is how Levi proposes they dry their capes, by putting them on the back of a speeder and taking off. And that's how they get their capes dry. Levi, that's awesome. Lucas, the Bounty Busters, this is cool. So this is like a Ghostbusters headquarters. And it's not even, this is not the official Ghostbusters Lego set. This is, this is Lucas's own creation, that looks something like a Lego Ghostbusters house. And then there are bounty hunters all over the house. And there's a speeder down there in, sort of the garage part of the firehouse. There's a pole that they can slide down. I think this thing is really awesome. And if you look carefully, you might even spot baby Yoda in those pictures. Oh, and actually that speeder, it's small enough to fit in this garage, but it almost has some hints of the Razor Crest from Mandalorian. So I think that's kind of a cool little take on that vehicle. Next up here from Maggie, we have the Yoda Baby Burger. This is so cute. It's like burger bun on the bottom and top, and then sort of like a slice of cheese in the middle, and the brown sort of coat is like where the burger would be, and the green head is where the lettuce would be. So that's really cute. Good job. That's a funny thing to have there, Maggie. Thank you. Mateo submitted the Darth Vader's submarine invasion, and I just thought this was cool because, like I said, I was encouraging people to think outside the box, mash up Star Wars with something that's just like not Star Wars, or something that could exist in the Star Wars universe, but we've never seen before. And so I just like the idea that Darth Vader needs a submarine for some reason. And we've got Darth Vader and Luke battling on the front of the submarine, and it's sort of coming up out of the water onto the land. So that's awesome job, Mateo. Here we have Max submitted the Vader speeder bike, and I think this thing is really cool looking. It just looks mean. It's got sort of that like blunt front end at the end of the two sort of poles, and it's got this big engine scoop, and he's holding on there, and it's got these exhaust pipes out the back, and stormtroopers chasing him. I think this is cool. Good job. Oh, he's even got storage space for his lightsaber on the side. Nice. Here we have from Oliver, this is Darth Vader's convertible limo, and really the reason I like this one is because the limo is there. You can see that like they put together a car that kind of hints at the shape of Vader's helmet, but Vader is like in the middle of the street, down on his knee with a ring, proposing to this person that's on the sidewalk. So we're capturing a precious moment in Vader's love life here. So I just thought that was awesome. Good job, Oliver. Seth made a little scene here with a green Mandalorian inside a completely green ship. He's chasing down some Western-looking dude on the back of a Velociraptor. And the thing I really love about this picture is that you've got that floating truck from Overwatch in the background, and it's just like got Mandalorians like stacked up in the back of the truck. And I think that's my favorite thing about this entire picture. So thank you for submitting, Seth. Here we have Steven sent Be Our Guest, and I had to look this up. I feel like this, Steven, maybe you get the award for like the most obscure Star Wars reference, unless it like has a more major role in something I haven't seen. But I looked it up, and the guest is this like sort of crazy, gnarly, like lizard monster from the Star Wars universe. And in this picture, we've got the guest with Cogsworth and Lumiere from Disney's Beauty and the Beast. So it's a little spin on guest from Star Wars. Be our guest, like from the Beauty and the Beast. So good job, Steven. Thank you. Here we have Teddy and Charlie submitted the Imperial battle droid, and I just think this thing looks really rad. It's got some sort of Mindstorms brick in the center with some motors, and I would love to see what this thing does. I think it would be really cool. From Wyatt, we have Project Mouse, and I just love what has been done with this little droid. It's got pizza on the front, it's got lobster on the top, it's got this like red eye, and then I think it has some money in the back in a basket, so it can probably, maybe like a muffin on top. So this, I imagine, would be a droid that can, roam around the space station or the spaceship and deliver food. So Project Mouse, I like it. So now I'm going to need a little help from some of my friends to talk about a few more of these models submitted to my Star Wars challenge. Sam, Mark, Mel, let's take it away. From Malloret, we have the Darth Vader medal ceremony. This is hilarious to me because it's just like the medal ceremony with the rebels at the end of the original Star Wars movie, except it's the dark side and Vader's getting a medal.
And the red carpet, it pops out there like it's so bright.
Yeah.
And then from Mark, we have Empire State Building. So it's the Empire State Building.
Got it.
There's a lot of cool little stuff in the interior in here. It looks like a stormtrooper in a Bacta tank, like he got hurt and he's getting better. There's a mouse droid. You've got Vader's chamber in there with a little hologram of the Emperor.
Yeah.
I love the use of the light brick in the throne room too. Like Darth Vader's sitting there, the light brick is shining down on him. It just looks so nice, like the colors.
I think what is really great about this is when it's all closed up from the outside, it really does have that feel of it's shaped like the Empire State Building and it has that Star Wars aesthetic to it.
I love down at the bottom, they actually did a sidewalk with like the mailbox and the stormtroopers out there with the broom.
Yeah.
And Chewie's going by on a bike.
It's so good.
Like a typical city set,
Next up, we have from Mila, it's Picasso Leia.
This is one of my favorite pieces of all of them. I do a lot of mosaics, and so this is like mosaic with greebling. It's multi-leveled. It really captures you. You really know it's Picasso from the eye shape and the nose, the two colors of the hair. Part usage is amazing. Like so many great parts in the hair, like tassels and lassos and whips. It's just, I don't know, I love this piece a lot. And the blaster is a giant cannon. It's just great. I love this piece. I want this for my wall. I would hang this up for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I think like the use of colors are just amazing. Like it's well balanced. You got dark on one side, lighter on the other. I think it's they really brought their artistic values out in this one.
The flower mouth, it's so good. Everything about this one is so good.
Next up, from Rebecca, we have the Empire Engineer droid. Mark, I put this one in here because I thought it could be a friend for our welder droid.
Yeah, I like that. Like, droids need friends. And this was, I forgot what we called him because we named him that super long name, but he definitely, they would be friends in the Star Wars universe.
It was
the name of your own droid?
SBTG 85.
85.
That was it.
Your mama's a droid.
Yeah.
I love the big saw blade on this one. It's like the big saw blade arm is just the greatest.
You put a giant saw blade on anything and it immediately becomes awesome.
Exactly.
Yes.
Next up, we have from Rob, this is the Fabuland Speeder. So in my last challenge, there were a couple of Fabuland submissions, and I made a big deal about having some Fabuland in the submissions. So I have a feeling we might see Fabuland in future submissions for my build challenges. But I also...
want this.
You want it?
Yeah, I want it. I love the use of the red umbrella as the front of the ship, and I love the color scheme. It's just cute and stupid and beautiful, and I love it, and I want it.
And I love clever names, and so Fabuland Speeder, how it just kind of all rolls together. It's a Fabuland Land Speeder, Fabuland Speeder. It's good. This is a fun mashup.
I love it.
Next up, we have from Rohana. This is the Rainbow Unicorn Ship.
The color use on this whole build is just beautiful. Like the rainbow water going by, the shape of the unicorn head on the front of the ship, the character jumping up with a lightsaber going to attack it. I love how dynamic it is. I love everything about this build. It's fun and whimsical.
This totally has the Finn and Jake feel to it with all the colors, you know.
Yeah.
Adventure Time.
And I love unicorn ships. I love unicorns. Anytime you can fit a unicorn into your build. Oh, and just like that little patch of area down there on the left where, you know, I think it's probably like grass growing on the side of like a river, but it's all different colors. That's fun.
Yeah.
Next up, Tommy sends us the Dino Patrollers. We have a dinosaur kind of mechanized with a stormtrooper on top. I love this thing.
Me too.
I want to ride it. I think it's a good use of like blending two worlds with like the dinosaur and the Star Wars, and then just like all the machinery of what it takes to like ride them. I like that.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, you know, is in the Star Wars universe, it's not outlandish that a creature like this could exist and be like harnessed by the Empire to ride on. Like, you know, you got dewbacks, you've got what were the what did they call him in Mandalorian? There was like the two-legged dewback-looking thing. The blur. Blurg?
Yeah, it was blur. Yeah.
Blur?
Blur.
And so, you know, those are kind of dinosaur-esque looking things that, like, maybe on some other worlds, something like a velociraptor still exists, you know, and they're using it. I like that idea. Okay, and then from Wes, we've got Darth Maul's mech. This is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It is a great mech, too. The shape of it's fun. I like the way the feet have, like, extra side panels. Like, so they're not just straight feet. They actually have, like, these toes facing out the side. It's just beautiful.
I think it's really cool that the mech itself has these cues, not just the color scheme, which it is red and black, and so that captures the Darth Maul color scheme, but there's also these other cues that are sort of very Darth Maul, right? Like this big, long, double-bladed red lightsaber, right? And then up around his head, there's sort of like this crown of silver spikes, and that sort of is reminiscent of like the horns on Darth Maul's head. So I think it's really cool. This is almost like the Darth Maul version of like the Hulkbuster, you know?
Yeah.
Next up from Will, we have the Porg Taco Truck. So the question is, are the Porgs selling the tacos, or are the Porgs in the tacos?
Because we have seen roasted pork before, so it's possible if the Porgs are serving Porgs.
Porgs are eating porgs, huh? That's the hard knock life.
Next up, Sam, this is one of your favorites, right? From Yoshi, we've got the mechanized chicken.
I love the part usage here, like the big plume across the head. I love how it's stuck to the wall, so it's only building the front part of this. The guns on the side, just the monochromatic color, which I love bright colors, but sometimes that monochromatic just feels so beautiful and elegant. It looks like a bust, like you'd have the deer head on your wall. You have this mechanized chicken head on your wall. It's just really great.
And the eyes are just like, ah!
Exactly.
Like
startled.
Eyes bugging out there. Yeah, and you know, it's sort of like a trope of Lego Star Wars that there's just so much gray, right? So much light gray, and so that this is a chicken built that, like you were talking about the monochromatic thing there, but just a little bit of white, a little bit of black, just to kind of give those highlights. And then there's a trooper, of course, driving this giant chicken.
So good. So good. I like the trooper's wearing a skirt too. Like he's got like a little I love it.
All right, thank you, Sam, thank you, Mel, thank you, Mark, for joining me for this video. And now it is time to announce the winner. If you haven't seen a picture of your submission, stick around for the slideshow after I make this announcement, and I hope you all enjoy building some wonderful things. This is it. Drum roll. The winner of my Star Wars Lego Build Challenge is Colby with Space Brunch. Thank you so much, Colby. This one just blew my mind. It was so outside the box. It was so unlike anything anyone else submitted, and I just thought you did a great job nailing every piece of the builds that you created for your space brunch. So Colby, send me an email at boone@boonebuilds.com, or if you're under 13, have your folks send me an email at that address, and I will figure out how to get a little prize to you very soon. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget, I've got a new challenge coming later this week, so please subscribe to Boone Builds and click that bell notification so you don't miss out. And until next time, go build something amazing.